Hi chess fans, welcome to Better Moves. In this position, black is considering playing bishop g4 because black is figuring, okay, with this move I can pin the knight against the queen, and if white plays f3, white will weaken himself. So why is this a bad idea, and what could be a better move to play? Okay, let's have a look. If black plays bishop g4, white can simply play h3, and now if the bishop takes, the queen will take with check, and white is up in development and increases his advantage even more. And if the bishop moves back, black was actually not able to take any advantage of the fact that the knight could have been pinned against the queen. On the other hand, black can take advantage of this knight, of this tactical motive, by playing first c takes d. And if white doesn't want to lose a pawn, white now has to take with the knight, because the queen would take, the knight would of course take back. And after knight takes, now we can play bishop g4, attacking the queen directly. And if the knight now goes back, black has an advantage in development and can continue developing. The knight is pinned and white still has to solve this problem. And black will castle and be able to increase the pressure on the white knight. And black is already having an advantage because of the development here. Also bishop c5 makes f3 harder after white has castled. Instead, white can also try to aim for some tactical complications by taking the knight. But in this case, after queen d4, white has solved the problem of the pin, but black was able to get a little advantage because these pawns exert some control over the center and diminish the activity of the bishop on g2. Okay, let's have a look at the next position. Black in this position was considering playing rook a d8, attempting to attack this bishop, which looks a little bit lost here in this position, and thinking that if the bishop takes here, we are able to retake with the queen and get some attack on the light squares. And otherwise, if the bishop would retreat, we have gained a good square here for our rook in the center. Why is this not a good idea? And what could be a better move for black? Okay, black can actually have already a simple win here by playing rook a e8. The white knight is pinned, similar to the position before, and black can take advantage of this immediately. If white does not want to lose this knight because it's now attacked 2 times, white has to play rook e1, but now black has the resource d3, attacking the knight and at the same time attacking the f2 pawn. The rook has given up its role of controlling f2 in order to protect the pawn, and now black has the double threat. So if white protects the knight, black can execute on the second threat, bishop takes f2 and wins the game. On the other hand, if black plays rook a d8, it is true black is attacking this bishop, but it allows white to retreat the bishop to e4, and on this square the bishop is blocking any attacks on the knight. And if now rook f e8, attempting to attack the bishop, white can play knight to d2, protecting this bishop and maintaining the role of the bishop of blocking the attack on the knight. And black is still better here, black is actually still much better here, but this is a better way for white to hang on. Okay, let's have a look at the next position. In this position here, black to move, black is considering taking this rook, because after all, this rook looks like it can be taken, and if rook takes, bishop takes, king takes, we have won a piece. Why is this not a good idea, and what might be a better plan for black in this position? Okay, the answer is quite simple. After rook takes, black is mated with queen d8 mate. The king has no place to go and the rook cannot move away because it is pinned against the king. So taking the rook leads to mate. What could be a better plan for black here? What resources does black have? Well, first of all, knowing this situation with the mate threatening, black is in a lot of trouble here. So black is already fighting to save his skin. So a good or better plan for black might be to make advantage of the weak position of the king and maybe together with the knight and the queen even get a perpetual to draw this position. So queen g3 is a good try, and after king g1, queen e3 check. Black has to pay attention here because after king f1, knight g3 is mate. So the king has to move back either to g2 or to g1. And if the king moves back to g2, white can hope for a perpetual. But if white plays king to h1, black can at least try to play bishop e6 and give up the bishop. And now the mate is not threatening anymore because this rook controls the d8 square. Of course, white wants to take this bishop. And now black can take this rook and not take this bishop here because the queen would have a double attack on the king and the knight, but rather keep the knight on the board, move the king away with the threat of knight e2 check, queen f3 protecting against the threat, and now knight f2 check, only move king g2, and now hoping for perpetual. If the king moves back, we can just swing back and forth for perpetual. So if white wants to try anything, white has to play king f1. And after queen takes and rook f8, black is still a piece down, but black has now this active rook moving here at tempo and maybe can make use of the resource of these two pawns here to push them forward. So this would certainly have been a better try. So I'm going back. In a position like this, where black is in a lot of danger, black should use, even if black is worse, use the resources that he has. And these resources is the weak position of the white king and the queen and the knight that together can attack the king. At the same time, black has to take care of the attack. And now again, black is using the resource of the queen and the knight to get a position where at least he has some resources, which is these pawns here. Okay, let's have a look at the next position. In this position, black to move. Black is considering taking this pawn because this pawn is not protected. Black is a pawn down, so black would like to win back this pawn. And after taking this pawn, also this white gets a little bit debased because this pawn is protecting the knight. Maybe the knight can be attacked. Why is this a bad idea, and what might be a better move for black in this position? Okay. If knight takes, there's a tactical resource of these two knights. This knight can attack the rook by moving to c6, and white can make use of this resource by taking the knight, and if black doesn't want to lose a piece, the queen has to retake, and then white has this knight fork, winning the exchange and the game. So what might be a better plan given that white has this resource? Well, black could simply take this knight, which was threatening to fork, and after e takes, attacking the knight, which is now weak, and if this knight moves forward now, black wins back the pawn with potentially a strong attack on the king position on the white squares, and a weakness to attack here on e3. Okay, let's have a look at the last position in this video, black to move. Black in this position was considering moving c5. And why is this a little bit of an inaccuracy, and what might be a better move for black in this position? Okay, c5 simply loses a pawn, and can you see how? Yes, d takes e, d takes, and knight takes. Black has lost a pawn. Arguably, black has a very healthy space advantage here, and maybe is able to cage in this bishop, and also these double pawns might be weak. But nonetheless, white also has active pieces and can exchange the queens, which is always good when you are a pawn up. And if these double pawns are a strength or weakness, could also be up for discussion. So a better idea in this position might be bishop b7. Bishop b7 attacks this pawn here, which is at the moment only protected by the knight. And if white wants to protect this pawn, white has to move the pawn forward to d5. And now black, this is a very common motive, to lure the pawn up to the front and then ganging up on it with all the pieces. You can see the bishop, the pawn, the knight, and the knight are all ganging up towards this pawn, and so the best way for white to continue is to take. And after bishop c6, we have a nice pressure on this pawn on e4, and we can get more pieces into the attack, and white pieces will not be able to develop harmoniously because they are bound to attack. And we can already see nice further plans. For example, the queen could come over here, and also the pawn on e3 can become a weakness. I hope you could learn a lot in this video, and the practice exercises and explanations will help you to improve your practical chess. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel so that YouTube will send you an update whenever a new video comes out. Thanks a lot for watching.